Hey y'all, it is Steve with SBL Games. Thanks for dropping in. Today we are going to be doing a PS5. Wow, this thing's dirty. Back USB port. Happens to be the back top USB port right here. See if we could zoom in a little. Right there. So as you can see, it's pretty shot. So we're gonna get that replaced. This unit's really dirty, and we're gonna have to give it a good cleaning along with the repair. So it's gonna take a little extra time. So instead of wasting time, I'm gonna probably just pause to do some cleanings, which essentially means that the cleanings will be edited out. Well, the major cleanings. But I mean, look at this thing, man. Oh, I gotta zoom back out. This thing. Alright, so anyhow, I'll be right back. Chunky Cam 2.0. So it also took a pretty hard fall. This is separated. We'll be able to get that back together though. Cleaned up most of it. Alright, so welcome back everybody. So we are going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. We're also going to need a T8 Torx bit, or driver I should say, driver. I recommend also having a, old toothbrush handy. Good to clean out that dust and stuff with. Or if you just want to clean up the board in general without risking damaging things, it's a good tool to use, a toothbrush. Alright, so anyhow, in order to get this faceplate off, so let's take a step backwards. You want to lift from this corner while pushing in that direction. And I also like to use my other hand, trying to fit everything in here the best I can. Actually, give me one moment. See if we can get a better angle. There we go. So you want to pop up from this corner, have force in that direction, while having the other hand over here. This whole thing will kind of pop up. I know. That's how it's held in, by the way, these little boogers there. Alright, so now that we're past the beauty cover, as I like to call it, we're going to need to get this out of the way. Be very careful, it actually does break. I've just done a lot of them, so I know where to pull from. And it's kind of in the center right here. Like that. So it's the best way to do that. Gonna go ahead and clean this up. Alright. So now that that is off, we could go ahead and take our T8. We're gonna need to hit, there's one here, there's another one here, there's one here. There's actually little arrows. If you look, there's little arrows. Let's zoom in real quick. Oh, didn't mean for that to fall out. Let's zoom in real quick, just to show you guys what I mean. There are little arrows. See? Arrows. So we're going to have to remove that warranty sticker, obviously, because there's an arrow there showing us there's a screw. Now, if you want to go even further in depth, the filled ones, I guess, the filled triangles or arrows are the coarse threads. And then if you look up here, see how it's hollow? A hollow triangle or a hollow arrow? That's because that's the real fine thread. So if you ever find yourself stuck in a rut, as far as where the screws go, that helps a lot knowing that. But basically, there's a screw here, a screw here, a screw here. one under this label, one there, one there, one there. Don't forget that silver screw. That's the only one that doesn't have an arrow pointing to it. I don't know why, but you do want to get that one, or else this cover will be screwed together to the disk drive. Then there's one here, and one here. Then you got to unscrew this. That little beauty cover will come off. Then there's one more screw in there that takes a Phillips head. This is a Phillips head as well. All the rest are T8. There's going to be a lot of T8 use when you're doing this. And there we go. Alright, so go ahead and peel that off. Set that to the side. And once you've got all those off, before you go and remove this, you want to remove this. You could go ahead and unplug these cables. Sorry for the weeble wobbles. So go ahead and unplug all those cables. Be very careful. They are fairly delicate. They could take some tugging. But then you could go ahead and unscrew these 4 screws. It's T8. The biggest one's going to go here. The smallest one here. These 2 are going to be the really fine thread. And if you remember what we went over earlier, the hollow. So we know this one and this one are coarse threads. So again, if you forget where screws go, those arrows could help quite a bit throughout, because they are throughout the unit. Just wondering about this T8, if it's a T8 or if I accidentally grabbed a T10. Yeah, it's a T8. Just has a really tight fit. When a driver starts to slip a lot, gets worn basically, I like to change them out. Alright, so we got those 4 screws out. We got that little cage off. This will be a good time to clean the fan. I'm going to go ahead and take care of that because, yeah, pretty gnarly. Pretty gnarly. Alright, so I got the fan cleaned up in a major way. Got all the screws around the edge pulled out, including the silver one that holds the disk drive in place. Then we're going to go ahead and take this one out with our Phillips head. That plate will just pull right out. And then now we could go ahead and unscrew this. There's going to be a lot of screws coming up. It's a little ridiculous amount of screws. If you are going to do it, make sure you have the skills to do the work once you get in there. Take your time to where if you realize like you're in over your head, you could pump the brakes, call in a professional, and they could take over pretty much. But anyhow, we got all the screws out. So this should pull out. What is it fighting? Remember earlier? Okay, there it goes. I was going to say maybe from the, because it looked like it could have sustained some damage, but did not. Alright, anyhow, that will pull right up and off. That cable will just stay right on. This is the disk drive model. So you press this metal clip down, this will pull straight out. Same thing with this, press this metal clip down, this will pull right out. The whole disk drive will pull right out. You could just set that whole disk drive to the side. We don't need to do anything with that. This unit's really extremely dusty. There we go. Trying to get the best angle. Give me one moment. Alright, so that does work for now. Alright, so anyhow, that whole disk drive will come out. It's also disconnected. You don't really need to disconnect this from this, so I just like to personally leave it just taped on. Then you can go ahead and take the handy dandy T8 and unscrew. There's a junk load of them. You could also disconnect this cable, all these little antennas. There's 4 total. Just be sure when you're putting it all together to not forget about them. These will actually need to be rerouted like how they are now. So if you want to make a note of how that goes when you do it, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Or you could realize that it's time to call the professional. Alright, so we got all this unrouted. Just kind of push it off to the side. And I'm going to save you guys the hassle of watching me unscrew all these. But just make a note to yourself that this black screw goes right here. Other than that, all these other ones are the smaller silver screws. There's literally about 50 of these little buggers, so I don't want to waste your guys' time. I shall return. One really important thing I would like to mention is take a note of where the screws aren't. Because where the screws aren't are where the other screws go. And if you put screws where they're not supposed to go, when you go to put it all together, it's not going to go. It's not going to fit. Your screw is going to block the other screw from screwing in. So just make a note of that. Something I noticed is there's these little notches on each side. It's like, I don't know, like a line going across it. Obviously there's nothing there because that's where the screw hole is, but on each side of the screw hole there's like a line. So that's where other screws go. So that's kind of a useful tip of the day. Alright, so once we've got all the silver screws out and that one black screw out, if you have the disc version, we've got this cable disconnected, this one disconnected, this one, all the 4 antennas disconnected. This part you want to kind of lift up from here, starting from here. Take your other hand and lift up from here. Be very careful. Don't force it. See how it just kind of came on its own eventually. Those you'll reuse especially, so that's another reason to take your time on that. Use caution. Alright, now in order to get all the way in, we're going to need to press on this silver clip and disconnect this cable that connects the main board to the front panel there. Alright, and then the other thing is we'll need to get these 2 screws unscrewed for this, I guess you could call it, it's kind of like an X clamp, but PlayStation's version. Just be sure to set those to the side. This as well. This one's putting up a little bit of a fight. There we go. Okay, so now that that's all out of the way, all these are out of the way, you very carefully start from this side. Same thing as like with that metal plate we pulled off the ground shield. Go slow. I don't know if you could hear it, but you could hear it slowly disconnecting. There we go. And once you get that far, that means that the APU has disconnected from the heatsink and the cooling system. And then you could pull from this side like I did. and that will disconnect the rest of it. That's where these power prongs plug in right there. The power prongs that plug in right there. See them right here. And then there's the, oh, that kind of made a mess of. But yeah, as you can see, the liquid metal. So I like to just set the whole board off to the side somewhere safe. If you have a piece of newspaper or something to put it on, that's best. And with this one, I'm gonna go the extra mile and take out all the silver screws and take this whole piece out and clean it because it's really dirty. And then we'll come back to the actual repair. I shall return. Didn't want to leave it out just in case your unit's dirty that you're working on. Not only do you have to remove those silver screws, but there's 2 black screws that go through on the other side. You remove that beauty cover on the other side, same way as the first one, and then you'll see those 2 black screws. Use lots of caution. You don't want to spill this metal compound at all. Don't want to make a mess of that. You don't want to get it dirty. You pretty much want to avoid doing anything to it if at all possible. On the Chunky Cam 2.0, y'all. Chunk Cam. That's how we do it. Get it all cleaned out. Get all those nasty dust bunnies and stuff out of there. No more overheating, hopefully. There's a bit more deeper in the unit I'm going to get to, especially right there. Alright, so pretty much finished going the extra mile, cleaning it out. If it was running hot or overheating, anything like that, it's not going to anymore. Unless their fan breaks down. So that's cool for them. Moving forward. Alright, so now we could focus on the board, the original job. So you want to be very careful flipping it over. We have that liquid metal. Again, we don't want anything to go bad with that liquid metal. Alright, so this is the HDMI port. We're not going to be dealing with that today. These are the 2 USBs. The one we're going to be addressing is the top one. Let me show. So if you could see that top one's shot. So we're going to be replacing that one. Alright, so first thing we're going to want to do is get some low melt in here. And that low melt will loosen up the port so we could remove it without damaging anything. And then we could put the new one on. Bolt her all up, case closed. Alright, so I'm just going to get the iron all set up because I had to kind of move things around to get different angles. Alright, our iron is up to temp. We got our low melt on standby. We're going to go ahead and add our flux. Oop. Didn't want to come, and then all of a sudden it just poured out. Alright, no worries. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. We're giving away keychains. All you have to do is pretty much say the 2 catchphrases that I use. First one to do that in the comments on any of the videos with that posted will get a free keychain. They're pretty badass too. I don't know if y'all have seen them, but pretty cool. Alright, so on this you want to use extreme caution. There's these little microscopic caps. There's one there And then I want to say that's some type of filter there. But either way, they're both extremely tiny. You don't want to accidentally remove those. Because you'd have to replace it with something that's the same value or close enough to the same value. And if you lose it, how are you going to know what the value is to get the replacement? So then you'd have to get a donor and da 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 da, and it just gets all confusing and complex. So don't do it. Just want to make sure that all these little points have enough low melt worked in. And then the heat and the low melt will work together, and we'll be able to get this off and get it changed out with the new one. We do have these available, by the way, for purchase. There was someone selling them. They wanted too much, so we sourced them out where we're able to offer a lower price. It's, I think, like $1 or $2 less. I want to say $2 less or something. Free shipping. So yeah, if you need that part, let us know. We have the ones for the front and the back, by the way. So the ones with the blue piece and the ones with the black piece. So no matter which one you need, we got you covered. And those do come with free priority shipping, actually. Hold on, is it priority? No, I'm sorry. Free first class shipping, by the way. Should also have a fume extractor on anytime that the iron is running. Even I should have it on. Do as I say, not as I do. Anyhow, once you get the low melt worked in, then we'll be able to run the Rework Station and get this bad boy out of here. So I'm just going to skip the excruciatingly long process of working in the low melt, and then we'll get the Rework Station going. Alright, we are back. So I got the low melt all worked in. I got all the flux removed and cleaned out because it was kind of starting to darken and sticky up, so wanted to get that out of the way. Alright, so next we're going to need to get our Rework Station going. It'll take just a few moments, and we're going to get this dropped into the trash, because it is trash. Alright, we're just about up to par. There we go. And then I just need to grab a part of tweezer. There we go. Go. Alright, so we'll need to clear out those holes. I got most of them cleared out already. These honestly are very difficult, all these little holes right here. I've already cleaned up most of it, like I just said. More importantly, if you do have trouble, you could try coming from the other side. there is a lot less to worry about. So on this side, oh, sorry about that. On this side, as you can see, there's all these little tiny caps and stuff, but on this side, there's a lot more clear. You just have to not do anything to that. Don't mess with that and you'll be okay. Alright, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get this put into place, the new one. There we go. There we go. Once that cools off a bit more, then go ahead and move forward. We're going to be flipping it over and securing it into place. Alright. Oh, turned off my iron like a fool. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to need to get some flux in here. There we go. Got plenty more, so we don't need to worry about it. Alright, now, first things first, we always want to secure the posts first. So let's go ahead and do just that. Usually want to do about 10 seconds per post, 10 to 20 seconds per post. So that looks really beautiful. The joints are all nice and shiny, solid. Just clean it up a bit here. We could reassemble and test and we should be good. And if you guys remember, there was that little cover thing that goes right there too. We're going to make sure to put that back right now as well. Give it one more good little scrub. There we go. Alright, so that back on. Look at that. Literally better than factory. Side by side comparison. That's more than likely just a illusion I keep saying, but it's the spot that looks dirty. Alright, anyhow, that's good. We could go ahead and bolt her up. Alright, we're back. So we just got to put the board in. Make sure to put all those silver screws back. Avoid doing anything to the liquid metal. Don't need to goof with it. Alright, so we put the board back. Very carefully. Sure to plug in all the cables. And then the antennas will come next. But first, if you guys remember, we have the equivalent of the X clamp, but for the PlayStation that we got to put on. It's pretty much the same exact thing. It's a GPU clamp for the heatsink. Keeps the, well, APU I should say. Keeps the APU held tight to the heatsink so it could do its job and pull that heat from the chip and push it through to the rest of the cooling system. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and get these plugged in. Screwed in, actually. Okay. Now we can take that cover, put that back into place. Be very careful, try to set it back in as even as possible. Those little thermal, they're kind of like thermal pads, I'll just call them thermal gloves. Alright, then if you all remember this part, so there's two parts to this. First, we gotta route this back through. You guys remember in the beginning. Sucks because it tries to fight you. Come on. Freaking thing. Supposed to be the white cable first, and it's putting up all this fight. Why the fight? Why you fight me? I'm here to help you. There we go. Hey. Somehow the lights ended up on that side. On that side. There we go. And the reason why I wanted white is because the white one goes here. That's why I was so adamant about it being on the side it was on. And then the black cable goes here. Then on this side, and these are labeled by the way, RB is black, RW is white. It's the same on both sides, but the cables only come from one end. Either from this end or that end, so you know which side they go to. There we go. Alright, so again, it's the plethora of screws. I'm going to save you guys the hassle of watching me. I'm going to go ahead and just put them in. Alright, we got all those silver screws in. We got all the cables plugged in for the antennas. We got all the blue cables plugged in. I went ahead and screwed in that black screw right here. It's Phillips. Has that little like silver ring that goes with it. And then this will go in once we get the casing. This is that one silver one, if you remember, that holds the hard drive in. Speaking of the hard drive, that's the next step. Let's go ahead and put the hard drive back in. So we'll first need to plug this in. Go ahead and set that into place. And then now we could take the cover and put the cover into place. We could plug these cables in while we're here. We'll need to plug in the fan soon, but first, let's get this one silver screw here. And then also, just wanted to mention it real quick, before we put the cover on, there's that one black screw that goes in this area, if you remember. Alright, so now, we'll go ahead and put, oh. So there's two extremely long ones. Those go on the far ends here, two longest screws. That is our coarse thread, by the way. This will go ahead and go right here. You could actually take the Phillips head, screw that into place. And then if you remember earlier, the fine thread go in the open arrow or open triangle. There'll be one that goes there. There's another one that goes here. And then there'll be two more that hold the fan in place right here. There we go. Alright, so the majority of these are going to be these. They're the coarse, kind of a short screw. I don't know, there's probably about 8 of those, something like that. Those will pretty much go in most of the holes. Those are going to be the solid triangles or solid arrows. Because these are the coarse screws. And we'll do the fan last, actually. I'm saying like the right one. Too long, too long. Alright, almost there, and then I gotta get to bed after this. Alrighty, so take our now mostly clean fan, It's not perfectly clean, but it's a heck of a lot cleaner than it was. So we'll want to route that under there, plug it in just like we did for the disk drive cable on both ends right here. Make sure those are under those little slot thingies. Okay, they got that nice little beauty cover if you all remember. So go ahead and slap that beauty cover back on. There we go. Alright, so this only could go one way. It has to go that way. That goes right there. If you try to do it any other way, it won't fit. Alright, so the two fine threads go there. The extremely short little screw goes right here. And then the longer coarse screw goes right here. And we just pop on the beauty cover and time to test this bad boy out. I'm sure it will work. I usually test it with a controller, make sure it charges and syncs and all that using that particular port that I replaced. So that's approximately what we're going to do. And don't forget this little beauty cover here either. Come on. There we go. When it's all said and done, we're going to wipe all that down with some IPA, by the way. Because it's pretty dirty. Pretty dirty there. And it only takes a little moment to do. And it's usually pretty appreciated. So I like to do it. Okay, I got the controller plugged in right here. Oh, or do I? No, it was not plugged in. Dang it. Well, we obviously got video, which is a good thing. It's doing its little storage thing. But I did not plug in my controller very well. One moment.